Bada bing, bada boom. We got an elimination match between Exuno and MarshMaster11. I'm always kind of blown away by this very nice win rate of MarshMasters. I always think of Marsh as like a strong player, and then this number comes up and I'm like, whoa, it's like a really strong player. So it might be tough for Exuno. But Exuno is pretty solid. Made it here in the winner's bracket. Almost made it to winner's 5, which would have been something pretty special, I think. So has had to play less matches to get here, but has now got here. 52% win rate, but has been around for a long time, and joins a lot of races and stuff outside of Mystery Tournament too. So I would say probably has more experience overall.
Yeah, sorry, I'm muted on stream just so the doesn't pick up my tippy taps, but I think this is going to be a pretty close match. This is going to be a difficult one. All of them at this stage are. I guess we keep repeating ourselves, but that's okay. Here's their path.
Yeah, so you can see the difference between making it in the winner's bracket and dropping down to the loser's bracket early and having to fight it out. MarshMaster has played not one but 2 more matches to get here. So that's pretty interesting. Exuno had a pretty convincing start, beating King Diamond, losing Control, a puzzle game about picking up a control button that will let you Control C and Control V to copy paste parts of the level. It was a cool idea, but the level design was a little strange. So it was a not quite as amazing as the concept that it could have been. And then we saw Ora Cubu, which is a 3-dimensional Sokoban sort of thing. It's Sokoban, but the level is on the faces of 3-dimensional objects that you can stick together, and that puts those parts of the level together, and then you can spin the cube around a little bit, or well, you can't spin it, but you can line it up differently so that the level connects differently. Real brain-bendy sort of thing. Both players were at it for a while. I think that one was over an hour of just pushing blocks around. It was pretty hard for them. Or no, maybe it was close to an hour. But it was a long one, and they were both kind of strung out by the end. But on the final puzzle, Exuno managed to sort of figure out the big trick, and that was it. Made a brilliant move in Wild 9 to escort the human bomb back to the end of the level. Just sort of, the other racers were constantly getting this character you had to escort caught on a ledge and would get kind of like sheared off and would fall down below, and you would have to go grab him again. And Exuno just did some really clever turnaround flip and dropped him on a higher tier and then walked around and picked him up. And it was a race-winning move. And then fell to Captain Drake, one of the best we have, period, in a match that I didn't see in a game that I can't see as well. So that one's a bit mysterious. MarshMaster had the longer road to get here. Chessformer was cool. It was a sort of puzzle game, imagining chess pieces moving around as if they were on a 2D platformer. So the bishops would like move upright diagonally into the air, and then they would fall down. Oh, they did! I did see that match. You're right. It was short strawberry shortcake, something. And it was a close race overall. Drake made some mistakes that Exuno could have capitalized on and maybe pulled it off. But Exuno also had a really bad mistake, fell down, or kind of had to fall down because they ran out of a sort of resource you need to progress through the level. And then had to just redo an entire stage, basically. Thank you for reminding me. Marsh's first loss came early in the tournament in a sort of close race to Tetsuya in Super Castlevania 4, which is a game with pretty nasty hard game overs. It's a pretty hard game overall. It had some confusing level design in spots, and all of it kind of aligned against MarshMaster. So they were playing pretty similarly, but ended up with very different times. And then since then has been on a tear through the losers bracket, defeating Dolorous Fred in a sort of close match of Sonic Roboblast 2 Kart, a kart racer featuring Sonic and other video game characters in the Doom engine, of all things. Beat Saiho in the extremely bland platformer Gianna Sisters for the DS. Out puzzle platformed Nighty in Bombastic, which was an okay game. It wasn't... The puzzles were not very clever, I guess.
So be honest with me here. Is DS now your least favorite console?
I don't know. It's just kind of the same as everything else, really.
It's difficult to hear you say... You rarely say positive things about DS games.
The good ones, I mean, the good ones aren't great for Mystery Tournament.
That's true. There's a lot of RPGs on that console.
Yeah.
When I eventually get around to playing DS games, because I never owned one myself, it's a lot of RPGs that are on the list.
I once made a list of games I like, because a mid-boss, your friend in mine, was like, hey, here's this list of, here's like 100 games or something that I like. And then other people, he's like, I want to know your games, and like started like basically harassing people to make a list of games they like. And then it's grown, so now there's like 30 people on this list who have this big list of games they like. I broke mine up into different consoles. On the DS, there are 3 games that I said, these are games I like. As in games I really like. Not games that were like, yeah, that's okay. Like games that I'm like, hell yeah, that game. And those 3 games are Ghost Trick, Phantom Detective, Mario & Luigi, and 999.
Everyone's telling me Ghost Trick is awesome. I gotta play it. Let's see. Okay, we have a game. And we're pretty much set up.
Perfect.
This is one that I did not play, but I think you did.
Yeah, this would be the part where I would tell you all about it, except the pizza is here, so I need to
Perfect.
go grab it, and then I'll be right back.
Exuno has a jolly background on there. I should put this on stream. Like, I don't have a way to do it. I'm not as smart as Maurice. That's fine. Yeah, I'll see you when you get there. Alright. Just waiting for Exuno to get their stream set up here. Just you and me, chat. Let's talk about video games. Making a list of games you like sounds fun. I should do that. I feel like that list would look quite different than it did before I started any of this mystery tournament stuff. I've been exposed to so many more games. I thought I was pretty good. I thought I had pretty good game knowledge, and I guess I did have pretty good game knowledge, but now it's just exploded beyond what it had previously. That's what being in this community will do for you. If you want to be able to just see a picture of something and probably recognize what game it's from like all of history, then this would be the community for you. Seems like you just end up like that eventually. The people that have been around for forever just like know it all. We have 2 different versions of this game available for download, and it's not specified which one. Also was not mentioned by the tester. So, we're just gonna say normal. There's a normal version and a speedrunning version. You'd think we would want the speedrunning version, but I don't know. We don't know what that means, and it seems to be very new. It's only 3 months old, so we're just not going to worry about it and go with the normal version. And I believe I can switch over. We have a game. And the game is Bleed 2. We've seen Bleed. Now get ready for Bleed 2. We had Bleed.
I was excited to see the
tournament.
game, and then your Discord feed just like went down whenever
I know,
you
I'm
hit whatever
resharing.
button you hit.
There you go. The game is Bleed 2. Oh, Exuno went away. It's alright.
Are you sharing a gigantic long screen?
No. Oh, what? Why did that happen?
I
about
don't
now?
know.
No one's doing it again?
Making it hard to see it as a
Yeah, what the heck? Why is that happening?
top and bottom, so the game is quite small.
Why are you doing this to me, Discord?
Oh,
No! It did it again! What is... I don't get it. Here, I'm gonna drop real quick. I'm gonna come back. I'm back.
Here we go.
Nope.
Nope.
I am just going to share that screen. Okay.
We in there.
Anyways, Bleed 1 was really fun. I played it, I liked it. I assume Bleed 2 is also pretty fun.
Yeah. I like that you were like, it was really fun. I liked it. When presented with an opportunity to play the second one, I declined and said it's probably fine and just accepted it.
That's exactly what happened. I you know, these games gotta get tested here. And it's just like, I knew it was more of the same. And it was just like, well, I mean, it's if the first one's so good, Myth liked it, he said it was the same, sounds good to me.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, actually. Playing the first one helped a lot with the second one. So my test times for the 2 games, the submission estimate for the first game was 30 minutes, and the second game was 45 minutes. And my time to beat both of them was basically the same. They were 2 seconds apart. So I think I got a lot better at the game playing the first one than coming into the second one.
That would make sense. I think they play pretty similarly. Exuno has seen the first match, but has not played any Bleed games.
I
Yeah.
played the first Bleed game.
Cool.
You've played
Fine, this year.
only the first one?
That's a great question.
Well, you're gonna find out. Uh-oh.
I played some game about bleeding pixels.
That's a different game.
Well, they bleed
Then
pixels.
I
is a
probably
different-
haven't played this.
This is girl with the. Well, I think that character in Bleed Pixels also has purple
Honestly,
hair.
I thought
This-
Bleed
this one
2
is
and I'm like, yeah, this
guns.
kind of looks like it.
This is a twin stick shooter, except it's not top down, it's side scrolling. And because your thumbs are on the joysticks, movement stuff like jump and dash is on triggers, so that gets kind of weird and is unintuitive, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You do eventually kind of get used to
I
it.
think I saw Bleed 1 and I meant to buy it. And then I just didn't.
Well, if you have the bundle, both Bleed 1 and 2 are in that the big itch bundle.
I'll get around to it. I have so many things going on. I saw, hey, I can talk and do commentary for a race. I'm gonna take the opportunity
Fantastic.
because I miss hanging out with everyone here.
Yeah, this is the only one of the night, I think, too. So it's the
I've been-
races
I've
are
been
dwindling.
busy for 3 months, 4 months. Just make it stop.
All right,
but
and
they're
we are
off.
off. Let me get
They're on the
audio
way.
here.
Hey, the loser 6, Exuno's still in, doing pretty good. They're all doing pretty good, I guess. If they're left.
Yeah,
We
that's
got
true.
until top 8, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Loser 6 is getting difficult.
About that, yeah. Technically,
Okay,
the
so-
event is in 4 weeks, but
The one thing that I know was mentioned is that there's a shop in the first Bleed game, which neither Mythical 9 or I visited, I think.
it's in the menu, I guess. I was always just hitting the button on the
Yeah,
menu.
I was just going to the next level. But you get weapons, and I think in this game you might start with some of those weapons. You might have them already. That's
it's
what
the
I was
opposite.
told, at least.
I think it's less. I think you have less options in this game, and there's
Oh no,
more
you have the
focus.
katana. See, you don't even have
You
you
have-
don't have the katana in the first one.
Yes, the katana is your secondary thing that you have on you all the time. It's like a trigger button to get it to come out, and it will reflect projectiles, which is a huge part of this game.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which MarshMaster's having some problems with doing that, but finally gets through. I'm just wondering, is killing enemies like even remotely advisable if they want to go fast? Because this really seems like a game where stopping to attempt to do anything other than move seems wrong.
In the first game, you had 3 dashes in the air, and you just want to just keep going. But there are certain sections where the enemies are dangerous enough you have to kill them. Would you say
Can
this is
go
any
into bullet
different?
time randomly?
I was definitely just dashing until I died, which was almost never in this
Yeah.
one. I died kind of a lot more in the first game. I don't know if that was a lack of skill, or if it was harder, or what, but yeah, just going worked well for me
Oh,
in this
okay. The
one.
game goes into bullet time when you reflect, and you can reflect purple bullet. There was another game.
No,
I played
no,
where
it
you
doesn't.
only
There's a
reflect
slowdown button.
purple. The slowdown button. Okay.
Yeah.
I
It's
see
it's
the
that
gauge.
bar. It's the pause bar underneath the health bar.
All right. So I'm wondering. I'm looking at this. There was another game I played. I can't remember what it was that you can only reflect purple bullets.
Cuphead's kind of like that.
Yeah.
It may have been Cuphead, and I just
I love the
forgot.
bullet reflect. It reminds me of Beautiful Joe, where it slows down.
Oh man, Beautiful Joe. When's Platinum gonna buy that from whoever owns it?
Capcom, isn't it?
Yeah, the rumor is that they traded Astral Chain with Nintendo for the Wonderful 101.
So, I think they're both using controller.
Yeah, I would guess.
It
Like,
seems so hard to play this. Like they're all moving in ways that would say this looks like controller because they're like
Yeah.
Exuno was slowly moving, like smoothly moving rather.
So in this game, you can aim with the mouse, and pretty much everyone would say, oh, well, you got to use the mouse then. If you can aim with the mouse, that's obviously going to be more accurate than the analog stick. And that is true, but when you're dashing, you have analog movement, kind of like the feathers in Celeste.
Yes. As someone who has played games with holding a Wii nunchuck in one hand and a mouse with the other, I can tell you that it's pretty nice to have analog movement.
Yeah. So I would recommend controller for this, although I'm kind of like super controller man. I hate playing on keyboard, so the mileage may vary. But...
Yeah, no, I've actually been looking at buying, like, I think Razer makes the Tartarus, which has, like, your thumb goes over basically an analog stick. And it has, like, an R3 for, like, a depress. And, you know, you have all your fingers on your other keys and stuff.
First boss defeated for Exuno.
Yeah, wow. Exuno's making some headway.
Exuno's tearing it up. But MarshMaster's not that far behind. Really, the difference was MarshMaster lost a ton of time on the Reflector tutorial, like a minute or something. It was bad. MarshMaster did reflect when the ship turned purple and dashed, so that's actually going to make up some time.
Yeah. Speaking of Beautiful Joe, reflects do massive damage in that game. In this game, it looks like reflects do good damage. Not necessarily massive, but you want to do them because it's going to do better damage than your normal gun. Does that seem...
Beautiful Joe, an empty raceable game. I feel like not enough people have played that game.
Yeah, maybe. I think it depends, right? Obviously, if there is a projectile coming your way, you want to get that reflect, but I don't think it's worth like going out of your way to line up with a projectile to get a reflect on it. Like maybe specific ones that are part of boss patterns.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I was, especially because like on harder bosses, like you can die, right? So there was a lot of my movement was entirely on survival for later parts.
Personally, I would say if reflect does like decent damage, or like, not much damage that you're going out of your way, I would just only reflect things that would let me stand still and not have to pay attention to movement, but just shoot gun repeatedly.
Yeah, well, I like that the consistent design language. I don't know what yellow means. I can see that some things are yellow. I guess yellow means you can't reflect it, but like you can't reflect the enemy.
But then there's some things that aren't yellow.
Yeah, I was
Maybe yellow means you take a ton of damage if you try to reflect it or something.
I never figured out yellow, to be honest.
But it's nice that the enemies themselves will turn purple when you can reflect them with katanas. It's consistent, and it makes sight reading the game a lot easier.
You know what yellow might be? Yellow might be immune to sword.
Like completely immune to sword.
Yeah, so like you could slash those like bombs and destroy them, but you can't reflect them. And there's a death from MarshMaster.
It's unfortunate. I like this this slash the cab strategy here.
Yeah, this is, I mean, like, it's a good strategy.
Oh, so you can slash the top of the truck too. It's not just the cab that can be damaged. That's a reasonable assumption to make because there's a person there, but...
Personally.
It is a weird boss that you're just riding him and shooting down into him the whole time, and there's not like one weak spot. Like, it's just anywhere, just shoot down. That's just phase 1, if I remember right.
Finished it fast. One thing you can do with this slowdown in this game is you slow down but less, and so you just get more damage when you're slowing down time. They do less and you do more. I think it makes your DPS
theoretically, your DPS would go down. Like, if you have, like, a really good cycle that you'd want to increase your DPS on, like, I could see that, but, Exuno took a lot longer on that truck boss just because he was slowing time down.
Interesting.
Yeah, just because he constantly slowed down. MarshMaster slowed it down, I don't think. So,
Exuno's using mouse.
Yeah, there's a cursor on screen now. So
so is switching between, is switching different control styles. Nothing in the rules that says you can't do that.
No, I've done that in games where I've developed, like, or I felt I've developed bad habits in movement, so I switch, so I, like, stop doing my dumb muscle memory.
In this case, it's a good idea because this boss is very small and moves around a lot. I had a lot of difficulty tracking them with my analog stick movement and hitting my shots, whereas with the mouse, you get that increased precision. So that also might be what's.
And your actual movement is a lot less important in this fight. It seems like you can just kind of slash stuff and kill it before it even gets to you.
Yeah. Although MarshMaster is absolutely shredding this boss.
Yeah.
But health not looking so good. And can reflect those, but doesn't want to.
This could be a lead change. So when you reflect stuff, does it go to where you're aiming?
It goes kind of more back the way it... No, I don't remember. I don't remember if it's the way you're aiming or the way
anything hits the truck, it seems you don't get to advance phases.
Yes. You need to keep it... You're protecting the truck so that it can hit the boss, bring the shield down, and then you get to actually do damage.
And what do we got? We got purple. There's one reflect, there's two reflects. That's going to be a lead change for MarshMaster as Exuno enters the menu.
Wow.
Exuno's not going to get enough damage. Look at that sliver.
Here. We actually had Jackazam in the Bleed 1.
That's some bleeding pixel health, even though it's a totally different thing.
in Bleed 1, Jackazam ended like a ton of bosses that way. I wonder if we'll see the same thing from MarshMaster, just finishing on your very last
like I've missed pixel. It sounds like I've missed a good tournament.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. It's been puzzle light. I don't know how that makes you feel, because I know you love the puzzles.
I like action games. I tend to win at puzzle games, so you know I quote unquote like them more.
We got a little bit of an auto scroller.
But
here.
I never draw puzzle games. I drew one puzzle game against FAO and he became a tester because of it. So you know that's how that went.
Been lovely having it.
And this doesn't look like a particularly dangerous auto scroller either.
No, oh man, I love that bird sprite.
Hey, what are you doing?
Red and angry, and there's a cowboy on it. What do you hate? What could you possibly hate about this?
Okay, I see. Okay. I see what Exuno is doing.
Oh no, this is terrifying now.
Exuno planned to play the whole game on controller, but then realized that it was nice to play on mouse and didn't know what all the keyboard buttons did. So was going into controls to see what they were bound to, and then getting back in the race. Wow, that's a fast boss on MarshMaster. I feel like that was close to optimal. That was pretty good.
Yeah, it wasn't landing the early reflects, but I think realized reflected an insane amount of damage to that boss.
I had a lot of trouble reacting to these things. It starts out okay, and then it starts to get overwhelming, so I found myself relying more and more on getting out of the way. And then that becomes impossible, and you gotta start like timing these key dashes.
You do have the ability to stop time, or slow it down at the very least.
Yeah, I did not hit that button once. It's like slow. I don't want to go slow. And I never felt like I needed it.
Ooh, that's a death for MarshMaster.
That is Exuno a death. Could, where does it? Oh, that's the loss of no time.
Okay, yeah. Still, you know, if Exuno doesn't die, that's some time made up.
This guy's kind of hard.
He's a little bit behind still.
He does seem hard.
Timing the reflect is like you got it. It's a decent window, but it still requires some skill. It's not free.
It's also directional, right? Like, you know, you could slash not facing him, and then it would just be useless.
A slick dodge from MarshMaster with the time stop into falling off the stage into double dashing back up.
Ooh, Exuno using the slow to get the reflect consistently.
I like it.
I like it a lot, actually. This is a massive... Look at that damage. Oh my gosh.
Oh, and there's a death. That was another phase. Okay, phases
on phase 2. Extremely close race.
Basically tied.
The thing with phase 2 is you need to wait for him to have the sword out. Once it's in the sheath, he is in like counter mode, and if you shoot, he will pull it out and deflect it.
Oh man, quit doing these yellows,
only
man.
Time.
Yeah, so you have to be patient and wait just long enough for him to pull the sword out, and then you want to get in and deal your damage.
And this is very close to another lead change. And Exuno did pull ahead, MarshMaster right behind.
It is so close. This is incredible. This is a great race.
The two of you have played this game. How?
I haven't, but I played
this game. Oh, okay.
It took me 38 minutes. I think probably I was missing opportunities to deal more damage with the slow-mo that these players are, so I think probably they'll go a little faster.
Yeah, Snowdozer gave subbed both Bleed 1 and 2, and gave this one a longer estimate. But Myth ended up taking just about the same amount of time on both games. The controls take a little bit of getting used to in this. Jump is on a bumper, and it's just a little weird. I mean, it controls, I think, the best for the design that it has. It controls well, but it's different than you might expect.
Yeah. Honestly, like, explaining this, like, oh, it's keyboard and mouse, I'm like, yeah, that would make more sense. But I do like the fact that, you know, I'd have analog movement, but at the same time, then I can have all the other buttons into things that make sense for me.
Yeah.
As, alright, how's this fight gonna go for them?
This is kind of a... It's reminding me of Contra 3.
Is this death if you fall?
I didn't fall, so I don't know.
Fair enough. I was like, if that's instant death, that's mildly terrifying, but
I do know some of these
seem to fall.
Some of these giant missiles turn purple and you can reflect them. I didn't manage to hit one, but I can only imagine the damage.
MarshMaster did a ton of damage.
Both getting the kill there. This is,
yeah.
I mean, I would say neither gained or lost any time on that section.
I think MarshMaster lost a second because missed a couple reflects.
It was funny though, because Marsh made it to the boss a little bit faster, like was doing all 3 triple dashes, was chaining them together perfectly, and got into the boss fight like 5 to 7 seconds or something ahead of Exuno, and then lost it during the fight.
Yeah, just Exuno got the reflects.
So yeah, with checkpoints in this game, I think Exuno is being way too safe in these levels.
Yeah.
The checkpoint is immediate and should just be going.
Yeah, because like...
Look, Marsh made up the time there.
That 5 to 10 seconds Exuno had on Marsh, well, it's gone.
I don't think it was quite 10. 10's a lot in this race.
I'm doing guesstimates here.
Oh, nice reflect. You know. Okay. When you look at the damage race, though, I think Marsh is still ahead here.
It's a weird boss.
It really is.
Yeah.
So the junk, you want to clear the junk so that you don't get hit by it and that you can hit your shots on the boss. But also that time spent clearing the junk is time not dealing damage to the boss.
With your sword and just reflect all of it.
Yeah, that's a pretty massive time loss. Okay, auto scroller.
Yeah, I think you could, if you're on the edge of the screen, it goes.
No.
But it does start to speed up.
It looks like if you get hit, it'll slow back down. It's an interesting mechanic.
Well, that shot, Marsh
never
had
get hit,
high
ever. Oh, okay, no crush or death for Marsh. Makes it through.
Ooh. Nice, Exuno is making this happen. Marsh is well ahead, though.
Yeah, nobody loses any time on the auto-scroller. Fancy. Imagine that.
ABD, always be dashing.
Another thing that's helping Marsh is that Marsh is dashing straight right. The dash follows wherever you are moving with the left stick, I think, and not the right stick. And so, I don't know, I found a lot of my dashes being a little bit diagonal, one way or the other, a lot of the time.
Wow.
Oh, who knows how Exuno's goes.
Look at this damage that Marsh is doing on this boss.
Also, MarshMaster completely annihilated that boss.
Yeah, seriously.
I love this boss. Just I like his design a lot.
So this is a callback to the first game. It's a 6-phase boss fight or something. Each of these phases is one of the bosses from the previous game.
Oh god, so which phase do you start on? Okay, you start on that phase.
Yeah, so that seemed to be the case. This is just a Meat Boy boss.
That was number 1 boss. This is the boss of level 2, the lava level in the first game. The worms were called the lovers or something. Red hot lovers.
I don't remember.
JoJo reference.
Slow-mo, probably a good idea. I was having a lot of trouble hitting shots in midair.
Both took a death on that phase.
All you gotta do is get through the phase, and yeah, the slow-mo to get the reflect to do a ton of damage. Oh boy, this is close. I'm worried for MarshMaster.
Marsh gets the kill on this phase, moves on to the next phase, right? He's got a 1/5 of his health bar or something. Do you just take the death immediately to refill?
Yes.
I think so. It looks like whether Marsh wants to or not is going to. Yeah, there it is.
Exuno going in with 3/4 health. I would not take the death in that instance.
No, that would be silly. This guy just has a shield. I don't know if it rotates around.
So it does.
Close, I guess.
In the first game, you had a rocket launcher that could do splash damage, and so if you use that, it could hit through the shield. In this game, you don't, and so it's a lot harder.
Yeah, it looks like the way that you are meant to deal with it is if you get too close, he'll block your attacks.
Nice, the slow motion to keep the shield all turned the correct direction for longer. Good use of that.
Getting the clear. There's a lead change again. Now we're on this teleport robot cowboy.
Here's where also aiming with an analog stick I think is pretty hard, as this enemy just kind of rapidly appears here, there, everywhere.
It's not a
it's like a princess girl.
What? Princess girl? What?
In the first game. This is a robot now, but... This is like the five alarm. I don't remember what it's called. What's it called in Gunstar Heroes?
7 Force?
Yeah, there it is.
5 alarm. You were like, it's not 5 alive, so I'm just gonna pivot into a different word.
No, 5 alarm is like really spicy wings.
Okay.
5 alarm.
Yeah.
That's like a type of fire.
Alright, so Exuno pulling back the lead due to just better boss fight.
Yeah, it was funny. It was not like, oh, it's dealing more damage. Exuno was taking less damage, and that let Exuno die less in the fight.
Yeah, and I think using slow-mo at opportune times when the... Because some of these bosses have cycles, and if you stop them in the damage cycle, you can just hit them more.
That fourth phase, absolutely, Exuno made up a ton of time with.
This is an incredibly close race.
Where you want to, whenever these bubble things are showing up, you do kind of got to stop dashing and shoot into them. So MarshMaster's faster stages, it's not going to be as much of an advantage in this one.
Which Mega Man boss is Exuno fighting right now?
This is also Contra 3. They got both. They got both aspects of that flying missile boss, and they just kind of separated them.
I was like putting together like a boss for Mega Man 3 and like Yellow Devil.
Oh, I don't know if Exuno can do this. Really needs to...
Gets hit again.
Yeah.
Might be okay. Might.
Has the slow-mo.
Oh my gosh. Look at that health. MarshMaster has the same
Marsh
health.
as well. Oh, and so much more damage to deal to the boss. And it's not slow-moing once the core is there. Like, it's a pretty small window. And the slow-mo... Oh, went for the reflect and didn't get it. The slow-mo is huge on maximizing the damage during that short window that it's open.
Is this like low gravity stage here?
It's like underwater.
Got it.
You're just you're swimming basically. Which means you can be dashing basically endlessly.
I think the reflect adds a lot to this game. There's a lot more thought that goes into... Because before, whether or not you use rocket launcher or gun, it was basically the same game.
Yeah.
Oh, you could reflect one of those walls.
You could reflect one of the walls, but not the other one.
You have to be so fast on that. I don't think we'll see that. I mean, I'd like to.
It's like I wonder if it's gonna do it again at this distance.
Ooh, tried.
The slow time was a little late on it.
Yeah.
But still gets the clear. Exuno starting to pull ahead.
Yeah,
Marsh
gets
the
unfortunately
clear on Missile Boss as I guess Exuno's fighting an X-Core.
Like a Metroid Fusion.
Doing no damage.
Yeah, this is weird. You gotta hit the core. You can shoot some of the little petals off by shooting, so you want to keep shooting. Or maybe you can reflect at certain point. Like I can't remember exactly, but okay, there. Some of them come off. As soon as some of them come off, there's a thing you can hit now. Okay, so Exuno understands how to deal damage.
Got it.
Exuno did not take a death at the start of this phase, and now I think maybe did that intentionally.
I think that the way Exuno swam into that almost looked intentional.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I have no health, I'm not trying anymore. Like that type of deal.
It seemed like Exuno was like... They saw how to deal damage, saw a couple boss patterns, and was like, okay, now I know what to do.
I can respect
Let
that.
me refill
like,
my health and do it.
Yeah.
Because then you have more effective health.
That's a bold move.
Attempt.
I think when you're this late in the tournament, you start thinking about bold moves. You're like, I'm a gamer now. I need to start actually making decisions instead of just trying to play the game.
No, you just always do bold moves. Go big or go home.
You get inside your own head about it, though. I was gonna say, the pattern's a little different than I thought it was gonna be. I was gonna say, if he can continue to do these reflects, it looks like from full health you can damage Race this phase. But the pattern gets a little bit more complicated. Was able to get through, though.
It almost looked like that for the entire health bar Exuno went through. There was only one repeated pattern. So the boss is quite a number of area attacks.
Man, and this level is still going.
Perfectly. You'll never see an attack twice, which actually I kind of like a lot.
This is a mechanic from the first game in the lava level where the screen tips and physics-based balls will come and try and get you.
I gotta say, I really liked it. There was a moment, whenever this boss sort of sheds all of the petals and they're just floating around, you can shoot the petals into the boss so that when they blow up, they take out they open up a way to hit the boss, like right now. And that's how Exuno finished off the boss, and Marsh just missed that opportunity. So who knows how long before Marsh gets the last little bit of damage now.
Yeah, wow. Ooh, didn't hit the reflex.
Oh no!
This is
in danger of dying now, actually. Okay,
no!
Oh, okay.
Okay, finds it.
Okay.
That's rough.
Sammy still with a pretty sizable lead.
And what is this?
Exuno wants to die. There we go.
That's a want of death if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, I like that Exuno was going for it. Okay, this is all similar to a boss in the first game too, that kind of forms into different sort of anomalous phases.
Just looking at the different types of movement between controller and analog stick, and I have played a game where because you had full control over your character's movement with like mouse aiming, you could get to places that controller literally couldn't.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and as the shark turns into the same things too.
Yeah. The total is that boss.
That phase.
I was gonna say this seems like multi-phase because that seemed too easy, but maybe not.
Oh well, we have an escape sequence auto-scroller, or not even. Just escaped. As Marsh beats up Pac-Man.
So where are we at, if you remember,
I do not. I have no idea how far away we are from the end of the game.
Okay.
We're on a cloud car right now, so...
This is the kind of game where I would not remember either. I would just feel like there were stages, I did them as they came up, and we'll see.
Yeah, we're close.
I feel like it's gotta be...
Okay, this is it, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. Like this, when I saw the stadium and now see like Superman showing up.
The showdown even.
So there's a sort of a mechanic here where the crowd is reacting, like it's a wrestling match, right? The crowd will react to what you're doing in the match. And so they start on her side, they're like throwing tomatoes and stuff at you. And the whole game there has been a taunt button that doesn't do anything, and it actually is a mechanic in this fight to use it. To sort of get the crowd on your side for phase 2.
You have to?
I think so.
Is that in the basement?
It is not. Maybe there's like a prompt or something, because I didn't get caught by it, and it's definitely the kind of I didn't remember that there was a taunt button.
Yeah, like I could say that like in a pace bin where we put there is a honk button, it's important. Drake lost 15 minutes on pushing blocks because you need a honk button to do it.
Yeah, so imagine if there was no honk button.
This is still a really close race.
Exuno is...
Marsh didn't lose any health at all in phase 1.
It's up on 3. I'm assuming this is a 5-phase fight for whatever reason.
I don't remember.
Use taunt button. It's not very effective. I just see it in the background. I'm reading the red garbage that's coming up. This boss honestly seems a lot less everything than the previous bosses.
I don't know. It's getting...
Ramps up a little bit.
It's getting there, yeah.
Yeah, but like this, even... It's like, okay, you can read it, like there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But you can see the lasers, like... the screen hasn't been filled with garbage yet. Not that the rest of the game had a problem with that, but I'd still say that the multi-phase boss with the
nice
stuff was worse. That was a good reflector Exuno.
Yeah, that was really tight timing.
Very good reflector. I don't think Exuno. I think Exuno reacted to that like at the last possible second. I don't think he meant to hit that.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, there it is. So the audience hits the boss, and then the shield comes up, and you should be thinking, okay, there's got to be a way to bring the shield down. Hopefully you're thinking of that sort of audience mechanic.
I see.
So I think even, like, right now, I think Exuno could be taunting, and that triggers the crowd to break the shield, I think. So this might be, like, strictly time loss. I think, like, a prompt is going to come up.
Press F to taunt.
Yeah.
Press F to taunt. Yeah, it's in the background. Is Exuno paying attention to that? Oh,
there.
Yeah, Exuno sees
There
it.
we go.
Press F to pay respects to this boss.
So there's an additional problem, too, of, like, the audiences can miss. They hit a spot on the screen where the boss is. If the boss moves, they don't change. So you've got to time it so that the boss is not moving.
Okay, I wasn't 100% sure if that hit for Exuno.
MarshMaster could make up some time if they just, like, think it. But
it's going to be so hard. Exuno knows everything. The shield is
Exuno
broken. I
also
think
like
this is it.
There it is.
That might be it. Is that the fight?
I think that's it.
Wow.
Exuno doesn't
what a
know it yet, but
time.
I think we're going to see this done soon. The slow-mo is huge. I should have experimented with it when I was testing. I just assumed it wasn't going to help that much, but there are so many times.
There's some roses. Level clear.
Increasing, you only have windows to deal damage to bosses constantly in this game, and when you slow it down, you maximize the amount of time you spend attacking during that window, and the difference is amazing.
Yeah, I also think the ability to never lose tracking on the boss at all, pretty nice.
When are you supposed to done? Does it say in the basement?
Oh wait, there is a final level. I forgot. This is the last level.
Okay. Well, this is the boss.
This
is there like a plot that you can, I guess, sort of follow in this game?
Yeah,
well, first you're like you have your sidekick guy, and then he betrays you, and he's the final boss. And then in this game, because he betrayed you, when he shows up, it's like an uneasy, like, oh no, here he is, but like, is he good? Is he bad? And you kind of fight him, but he kind of helps you. And then here is he comes back to fight you at the end of this game.
Did not get that reflect. And took a lot of damage because of it, but I don't think that this is a death. Yeah.
No, I don't think it matters because you just blow that phase up. Why is your sidekick guy just trying to kill you?
I don't know the specifics of that. There's the kill for MarshMaster on the previous boss.
Well, the sidekick guy in the first game is the #1 hero. Basically, you're trying to become a hero by killing all the other heroes in the first game. But then this guy swoops in at the last second and takes the credit. And then he's the final boss. I don't know what the story is of this. You're like an anti-hero. It's like a Travis Touchdown kind of thing.
Travis Touchdown. I still have to play the third game.
It's a little
Travis
tedious,
Touchdown's
honestly.
Interesting. Oh, the third game?
Yeah, I thought I would like it more, but it's a little, I don't know. I wish it was better.
I would say they were all kind of tedious, at least the first two.
Boss went low as soon as Exuno
I'm not playing it for team. I'm playing it to read whatever Suda 51 wrote.
Exuno hopefully won't take a death here, but is getting a little careless. Although this does seem to have some pretty tough patterns.
But I haven't seen bosses do a tremendous amount of damage.
There's the slow. Okay.
There's the slow-mo. Ooh.
The final phase is him on the ground.
In which you can hit bosses because the bullet, you shoot your gun either just as fast. Like, I don't think you lose gun speed.
Ooh, that one guy just finished, giving Exuno a heart attack.
Okay, so there's this phase while falling.
Final.
It's not. There's the final phase is him as just a dude on the ground.
Just like in the first game. So, would you have taken a death here?
I might. I didn't see exactly how much health Exuno had.
Exuno was at a decent enough health that I don't think I would have taken a death there. But Exuno missing that first reflect, I would take a death at the start of the next phase.
Yes.
100%.
MarshMaster is pretty low on life. Absolutely needs to stay alive right now to have a chance.
Like, I've absolutely gone to, like, the start of stages like this and just, like, where is the quickest thing that will kill me? And I just, like this, just run into it.
Exuno's gonna try to fight it out.
Oh.
Okay, it does die.
Yeah, that was like, this is just time loss in my head for Exuno. As MarshMaster's starting to use the slowdown,
good.
gets that clear.
That would have been rough.
Yeah, only a phase behind. Let's see if MarshMaster likes to take death here.
This boss that Exuno's on is kind of tricky. You constantly need to be digging forwards. You need to leave yourself space to dodge lasers, and then you also need to, you know, attack the boss and deal damage.
Yeah, I don't like this.
MarshMaster discovers trying to stab the boss, not very effective.
I think I would have a really hard time managing when to be attacking and when to be digging.
It's possible to, like,
boss this reminds me of. It reminds me of like some Sonic boss or something like that.
There's you can kind of dig the wrong block in a lot of cases. Like you're standing on it to like dodge a laser or something, and then you dig down and you move a different row, and now the laser's lined up differently. All right,
so it's
final
the final
phase.
This guy got 2 health bars.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe not.
Yeah, he does. That's the Dubel health bar. Man, that one guy had a really good time. I don't really understand how he did that.
I guess it's just about taking less damage, just dying less.
Yeah.
Avoiding damage. They've only taken a couple really weird deaths, and maybe could have been more effective on some bosses by landing some reflects.
Yeah. Exuno is not taking damage. Certainly, if you just look at the percentage of Exuno's health and the percentage of the boss's health is up.
Well,
now it's about even.
They're very even. They are very even.
It was up when I said that.
You gotta play Ganondorf tennis, ping pong.
Nice. Was able to get the timings.
At him.
The hitbox gets really small on the ground.
In the race of health bar with this boss is now even.
Yep.
Oh!
Missile attack, pretty hard to deal with. The worst is the katana.
All of it.
I haven't seen many of the katana attacks nice dodge from Exuno, and the missile gets the kill.
Gets the kill.
Wow.
GG to Exuno.
There it is.
36:21 is the time.
I like how the game tells you exactly when it's over. Game clear, not stage clear.
Game clear.
It's just over. Exuno did it. Exuno
no, this is Bleed 2 for the first time. We had Bleed 1 before, Adam.
Yeah, when is who's Exuno gonna go fight now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I looked this up at some. I think it's like the winner of Pika Pals and something.
Oh, that's in the that leads into Arcless, right? Or
oh, death. Unfortunate.
I think I die during this boss. The katana attack that we haven't seen too much of is really hard to deal with. It just kind of gets on top of your hitbox.
MarshMaster successfully reflected it and then had a missile dropped on his head.
Oh, nice.
Like he's been nailing that. That actually does a ton of damage to the boss.
No, not that one. The yellow one.
Oh, the yellow one. The yellow one just shredded himself.
Yeah, the yellow one sucks.
Hello, Exuno.
Hello.
How does it feel to be a winner?
Surprising.
It was really close. It was back and forth.
Was it? Okay. That's good to hear. This game seemed a lot easier than the first one, from what I saw.
Yeah, so I tested both of them, and I had the same time for completing both games.
Exactly like the same time?
2
really
seconds
close.
apart.
Really
Nice.
close. Yeah.
Despite there being a 15-minute different estimate from the submitter. There's a kill there for MarshMaster.
Yeah. I
just
mean,
now.
maybe this is just scaled as if you had bought all the health upgrades in the first one, which the race I saw, the players did not. So.
Yeah, well, and there are multiple difficulty modes. This is
Yeah.
a little bit more interesting on some harder difficulties. But man, yeah, this was a really, really close race.
Ooh, okay. I'm glad that it was exciting. I'm also glad that I won. Did my comment about time slot... I wasn't even sure of it after I said it later on. It was definitely extremely useful for some of the phases, because bosses aren't always vulnerable, but it did seem like it was doing less damage. But that was something I distinctly remembered from the first game, and I wanted to make sure that wasn't why I won.
Your time stop usage extended the vulnerability frames, and so you did get more damage in.
Yes.
So like you were winning because time stop was working in your favor. I also want to say your switch to mouse, meaning you didn't have to worry about, oh, I can't aim my analog stick good.
Aiming
you started making up a lot of ground on bosses when you did that.
Yeah. Aiming my analog stick good wasn't like even the problem. It was that I wanted to be able to press all the buttons, and there's one too many buttons.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That was what I was going back and forth.
I was playing through the first stage, and I was just like, this would be really cool if I could press all the buttons good, and even on keyboard it was a little bit of a struggle. I had to go back in and like rebind what the katana was on.
How many buttons are there?
3.
It was, I would say, most of the game, you and, well, hello, Marsh.
Katana and time stop.
Well, yeah, basic, and jump.
Oh, jump is not dash?
Katana. Jump is not directional. I mean, like, you have to press a button to do each of the dashes.
Shift spacebar, left click, right click. There you go.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. By default, what's it called? Katana was on like middle click and R, I think, and I switched it to shift.
Oh, I don't like that. That's gross. Who uses 3 buttons on like a side button, like mouse 4 or 5?
Yeah,
like, those are fine.
I was looking for mouse 4 and 5, but I was like, I can deal with shift. I'll press that.
Yeah, mouse 3. No.
Pressing 3 different triggers to be like, I want to time slow here, I want to mash katana, and I also want to be able to jump. On like my 3 triggers while holding analog stick was not working out, so.
Yeah, most of the game you guys were on the same boss, pretty much. I think
nice.
You started to pull ahead a little bit, Exuno. MarshMaster was ahead until the ninja boss. And then you slowing down and getting those reflects every time made a big difference.
Mm-hmm. The reflect mechanic was really fun.
Yeah, I think that added a lot to the sequel. I think that it makes you think a little bit more about what you're doing.
I definitely, I don't know, I might try it on hard to see if it's actually, like, more reasonable to die. I definitely took a lot of intentional deaths. I did not use the Jakazam strategy of, it would be really cool if I did this with 1 health.
March beat several bosses on one little sliver of health.
I typically didn't even beat them with 1 sliver of health. I just took like 2 hits at the next boss fight and was like, I'm getting my checkpoint. I know that if I, have full health, I can beat any boss in this game first try, basically.
So MarshMaster, what did you think of the game?
It was a lot of fun. Enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than Castlevania, so that's
good.
You said that last time. You hate Castlevania.
I mean, I think the game itself is fine. I just didn't like it as a race.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
There was something else I was thinking about. Were there checkpoints in the showdown? I assume that there were in each phase, but I'm glad that I was able to do all of that in 1 try.
I
took one death on the flying car, the second one.
No. The one that's just the fight against Valentine or whatever.
Oh,
it was,
yeah.
In the boxing ring.
You're right.
Yeah, that one did have checkpoints.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm not sure if either of you died, but I think maybe you did, Marsh, at one point.
Yeah, I did.
Neither of you guessed that you could taunt before it told you in the background, so that wasn't a time gain on anyone else.
I'm also very glad that it told me that, because I had no fucking clue what taunt was on the keyboard.
I was worried about that.
I was like, I did not look at what the button is. I was like, oh, I actually like figured out a couple of seconds. I was like, nothing's happening. Maybe I do need to press that button I don't know how to press. So I'm really glad that it popped up just a second later.
Yeah, press F to pay respects to that boss.
I also had my controller on my lap the entire time, feeling it constantly rumbling. I feel like that added to the experience. I wouldn't have the intensity without that rumble, so...
Myth tested this game, and I'm sure if it was something awful about not knowing taunt, that he would have decided to add something to the face spin. So he didn't exactly remember what it was, but
I forgot completely about taunt as well. And then I guess I saw it in the background and reacted to it and got through it fine. And so like when I started to talk to Internet Dirigible about it, and I was like, oh yeah, there's kind of a gotcha here where you gotta taunt to hit the boss or whatever. And then Internet Dirigible was like, is there a note in the paste bin? And I was like, it didn't even occur to me that like, oh yeah, but maybe that's. I was like, did I just make a really big mistake? Are we about to have a tragic end to this race? Like, there is a prompt for that, right? How did I figure that? And then I was like, there's no way that I just was like, oh, it must be the taunt button that I totally remembered existed the entire race. Like, I was like, no, it's gonna prompt him. It's fine.
Yeah. Press F to taunt, just blasting in the background like repeatedly until you do it. That was a pretty good way of doing it.
Yeah, this game really seems really straightforward. Copied a lot of stuff from the first game. A lot of the same bosses and stuff.
Yeah, there was the one level where it was just the boss refights against the first game. I think all of them were pretty straightforward though, so I don't feel like I got
well, and especially the guy with the shield, you don't have the splash damage anymore, so you really can't do the same thing.
Just like, I'd better time slow whenever the shield's in the opposite direction and get the damage when I can.
But anyways, that was a really, really close race. It was a fun one to watch. Congratulations, Exuno. Marsh, unfortunately, this is your last race in this mystery tournament, but you made it pretty far. This is a late round here. Where are we? This is like Losers 6, right?
I think it's Losers 5.
Losers 6.
You're currently
Losers 6.
Losers 6.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this, other than Castlevania? How do you feel this mystery tournament?
This was 6.
Was it?
Zuno, you moved on to 7.
Nice. Oh man, if we win 2 more times I'm in top 8, that would be horrible.
Your opponents will either be... Well, you have 3 races until... Oh, no, 2 races. They fixed it.
Okay.
Your opponents will either be Mexican Runner, Nakarashi, or Boney.
There's one of those players I think I have a reasonable chance of beating.
Well, it's not Boney, so which one? Boney's unstoppable.
I want to see the Exuno versus
Boney versus Exuno. I want to watch that race.
That's the race of the century. I can't believe it.
For the right to challenge some probably really strong player who drops down from winners to go to top 8.
I mean, to get into top 8, you'll have to fight Okami, Shrambles, BTS, or 225 or 226.
No, I don't have to.
Adam,
I will fight
Lightning.
Okami in top 8 if they make it there. I only have to win twice more. I have to win.
Losers 9 doesn't exist. Losers 9 is top 8.
Oh yes, you have to play against Adam or Calco.
Okay.
Oh no. I don't know if you've seen Adam this tournament.
If I look at the rest of them, the only one that would be better is I'd rather fight Lightning compared to those 2. But you know, because I've raced Calco and that race was terrifying.
Calco knocked Zex to losers. Knocked Scrambles to losers.
Really good.
Calco,
I only knocked him to losers last MT was because boss fights were I figured out you didn't need to pay attention to your own health bar.
I'm just saying, I already lost to Drake. I know who Andy, someone, Triscor, and Maurice are, so there's no one in that round who is going to be a weak opponent.
I think you have a strong chance to get into top 8. I believe last MT was Calco's first, and we were like, oh yeah, speedruns Kaizo is gonna be good at, and Yoshi's Island is gonna be good at 2D platformers, but it turns out they're good at everything.
Yeah, Calco's pretty good. Calco's really good.
It's just really good.
And if you watch his GDQ run of Yoshi's Island, it was the most terrifying thing I think I've ever seen in my life.
Everyone now is having some sort of revelation that was in the paste bin that nobody noticed. Or
Wait, what?
What is happening? Does it say?
What
It
happened?
doesn't say you can dual wield.
No, it says hup ya ho ho.
Yeah. I'm trying to
Face spin.
I don't know if it'd be better to give up the katana anyway. The reflex do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
It keeps
I'm
you
trying
safe.
to see if I can.
Yeah, the
Oh
reflex
yeah.
were.
So I'm pretty sure the dual pistols were unlocked after
I
you
see.
beat the game. Because I remember checking the loadout and I didn't see anything on there.
Yeah, the reflect really was the mechanic of this game, and I think that you were often slow down time to get the reflex, and that gave you the slight edge in the race.
You've got to give them the key to everything that's yours. Otherwise, what's the point?
What are we hearing? Is this the Rainwave? Rainwave just does stuff sometimes. Anyways, let's talk about the upcoming matches.